right now. You are being robbed, and you are legally agreeing to it. You are scrolling through a digital landscape of free trials that never actually end, bled by 1,000 tiny cuts. Subscriptions you forgot to cancel. Convenience fees for the privilege of paying your own bills. It feels like a modern invention, a byproduct of the Silicon Age. But the blueprint for this customer acquisition trap was not written in 2026. It was etched into a blue and yellow plastic card 30 years ago. In 1999, one American corporation engineered a machine that extracted $800 million a year from its captive audience for the crime of being busy. They monetized your forgetfulness. Before the cancel button became a digital labyrinth, there was a physical object. A black plastic rectangle. And with it came a ticking clock. You remember the cold spike of adrenaline when you realized it was 10 p.m. on a Tuesday and that copy of Titanic was still on your coffee table. To the titans of the rental industry, that forgetfulness was a memory tax. By 2000, the world's largest video rental chain was so addicted to it, they could not imagine a world without it. Let us open the case file on the Blockbuster suicide. In September 2000, Reed Hastings walked into a Dallas high-rise. The co-founder of a struggling startup called Netflix had a proposition for John Antioco, the CEO of Blockbuster. Blockbuster was the undisputed king of the cul-de-sac, boasting nearly 8,000 stores and a brand as permanent as the sun. Hastings offered to sell Netflix for $50 million. In 2000, $50 million was the cost of one mid-budget thriller. A rounding error. Antioco reportedly laughed him out of the room. History frames this as old guard blindness, a dinosaur missing the asteroid. But the truth is far more clinical and far more sinister. Antioco could see the future. He just could not afford to live in it. Netflix proposed a radical, terrifying idea. No late fees. To Blockbuster, this was a declaration of war. By 2000, Blockbuster was no longer a movie rental business. They were a high-stakes penalty collection agency. Late fees were not a gentle nudge to return tapes. They were the engine of the enterprise. Blockbuster was not a grocery store selling milk.
Yes, my lord.
They were a landlord who gave you the milk, but charged you $5 every minute you kept the carton past midnight. They operated on a perverse incentive, a massive moral hazard. They did not want you to return the movie on time. If every customer was responsible, Blockbuster collapsed. They bet against your busy life, your screaming kids, and your human tendency to forget. When Hastings sat across from Antioco, he offered a way to stop robbing the customer. But Antioco did not just reject Netflix. He ran the math. Kill late fees and wipe out a fifth of top-line revenue overnight. Keep them and slowly poison your customer base. He looked at the $800 million in late fee revenue from 1999. Enough to buy Netflix 16 times over. Switching meant a manual heart transplant on a sprinting patient. This was not a failure of vision. It was a calculated decision. Take the money now. Deal with the consequences later. He passed because the late fee was his narcotic of choice. He chose the sunk cost fallacy over the future. He chose to keep his hand in your pocket. To understand how a retail giant commits slow-motion suicide, you do not look at their marketing. You look at their 10K filings. You look at the cold, clinical lines of the ledger where the truth hides in plain sight. Somewhere in Dallas, 1999, in a fluorescent lit boardroom, a spreadsheet hits the table. One line is circled in red. Late fees, $800 million. No one asks if it is ethical. They ask a different question. What happens if this goes away? And that is the moment the company stopped being a video store and became a dependency. To you, that $5 charge was an annoyance. To Blockbuster, it was the smoking gun. That $800 million represented roughly 16% of their total revenue. But the forensic fact that should make your skin crawl is that it represented a significantly higher percentage of their net profit. Think about the physics of a movie rental. To earn $4 from a standard rental, Blockbuster paid a clerk to scan the tape, paid for electricity, paid rent for prime real estate, and paid the studio a cut. But a late fee? A late fee is pure, unadulterated gravity. Pure rent-seeking. It requires zero labor. No one checks a disc for scratches. It is money that materializes out of thin air because you were stuck in traffic. It was a deadweight loss for the consumer, but the most efficient product they ever sold. And the product was your own failure. And here is the part no one tells you. Blockbuster did not just tolerate late fees. Internally, they optimized for them. The mechanism was a 3-act trap designed to maximize friction. Act 1. The new release hook. Massive marketing budgets ensured you wanted the newest blockbuster this weekend. They flooded stores with copies of Armageddon to guarantee availability. Act 2. The scarcity illusion. They did not want you to keep the movie. By shortening rental periods from a week to 3 days, they increased the velocity of the inventory. They made the window of success smaller for you and larger for their bottom line. Act 3. The penalty box. If you missed that window by 1 hour, the trap snapped shut. The late fee often equaled the price of a second rental. Keep a tape long enough, and the accumulated fees exceeded the retail price of the movie. This was not accidental friction. It was engineered failure. By 2000, Blockbuster had become a golden cage. Wall Street valued them on their EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. That $800 million in late fees was the Narcotic keeping their stock price high and their creditors happy. But Antioco was not just greedy. He had a gun to his head. Blockbuster was drowning in debt from buying up prime real estate in every strip mall in America. If that $800 million cash furnace went out, they would breach their debt covenants. The banks would seize the keys. When Netflix proposed a flat monthly fee with no late dates, it was a late fee killer. If Antioco accepted, he had to tell shareholders the memory tax was going to zero. The market would crucify him. The debt used for expansion would be called in. Netflix was not offering a lifeline. They were asking Antioco to pull his own life support. To hide the stench of this cash flow illusion, they began a series of legal shell games. In 2001, they were hit with a massive class action lawsuit across 45 states. The allegation was that their late fees were unconscionable. Blockbuster settled, but they did not stop. They simply engaged in semantic arbitrage. They rebranded them as extended viewing fees. A classic Noir maneuver. Changing the name of the crime without changing the outcome. They whispered, "Keep it as long as you want, for just a few dollars more." But the ledger proved they were still betting on your inertia. While they played word games, Netflix perfected the algorithm. While Blockbuster relied on the physical dark pattern of the return drop box, Netflix removed the friction entirely. Antioco thought he was in the store business, penalizing people who did not leave on time. He did not realize he was in the attention business. Every dollar paid in a late fee was toxic revenue. Money earned by making the customer hate the brand. It funded private jets today, but created a massive trust deficit that Netflix used as a bridge into your living room. Blockbuster chose the $800 million today over the $50 billion tomorrow. They held onto the smoking gun until the barrel melted in their hands, deaf to the digital tide rising at their throats. By 2004, the water was over their heads. Blockbuster finally attempted a desperate, last-minute pivot. They launched a multi-million-dollar marketing blitz with a 3-word promise: no late fees. It sounded like a surrender. It sounded like they had finally listened. But imagine the January 2005 mailer hitting your kitchen table. Bold, 72-point font screaming, "No late fees." But turn it over. Get out a magnifying glass. Down there, in 8-point gray font, lay the legal bear trap. The automatic retail charge. Under the new rule, if you kept a movie for more than 8 days past its due date, Blockbuster did not charge a late fee. Instead, their system automatically charged your credit card for the full retail price of the movie. They sold it to you without your consent. If you returned the movie after that, they reversed the charge, but hit you with a restocking fee. It was a masterpiece of semantic arbitrage. They did not kill the penalty. They dressed it in a tailored suit and called it a purchase. It was the same narcotic delivered through a different needle. But this time, the patient's body rejected the drug. The confusion caused by the lie led to more lawsuits and a catastrophic collapse in cash flow. By trying to fix their addiction, they proved it was the only thing keeping them alive. That campaign cost the company an estimated $200 million in operating income in its first year alone. The banks, seeing the toxic revenue vanish, issued the ultimate margin call and pulled the plug. Blockbuster did not die because of the internet. It died because it built a kingdom on the foundation of human irritation. When you build a business model that requires your customers to fail in order for you to succeed, you are not building a company. You are building a countdown clock. Today, the blue and yellow signs are gone, replaced by the glowing red N of Netflix and a sea of digital competitors. But do not let the convenience fool you. The spirit of the late fee has simply evolved. Think about the free trial that requires a credit card, the gym membership that requires a certified letter and a blood sacrifice to cancel, the software subscription that renews automatically because they know you are too busy to check your statement. This is the legacy of friction. Modern churn machines have realized what Blockbuster knew 30 years ago. Inertia is a profit center. They do not want your loyalty. They want your absence of mind. We traded the $5 late fee for a $15 monthly subscription we barely use. We traded the physical return box for a digital shadow that follows us into our bank accounts every 30 days. The memory tax is still being collected. It is just deducted automatically now. Blockbuster's ghost haunts your digital wallet. It is there in every active subscription you ignore. It is there in every convenience fee. The late fee was just the first draft of a social contract, where the customer is the product and their forgetfulness is the dividend. So, look at your bank statement tonight. Count the subscriptions. Look at the vampire charges bleeding you dry while you sleep. Ask yourself, who is really in control of your capital? But here is the most uncomfortable truth of the 1990s. Under Blockbuster's regime, you only paid when you screwed up. Today, Netflix, gym memberships, and software companies charge you $15 to $30 a month, whether you use the product or not. Blockbuster punished your mistakes. Modern corporations just tax your existence. Which one is actually the bigger scam? In the 1990s, you forgot to return a tape. In the 2020s, you have forgotten to return your freedom. And just like those black plastic rectangles, the price of keeping it is higher than you think. Because in the ledger of history, every debt must eventually be paid. The archives are closed for today. You have seen how a titan chose a slow suicide over a simple truth. The next time you see a free offer, remember the $800 million narcotic. Remember that when a service feels too easy to start, it is usually because they have made it impossible to stop. Because in the ledger of history, every debt must eventually be paid.